Good afternoon, traders. This is Christian from TTG Trade Group, and today is Tuesday, September 6th. So first day back from a 3-day weekend. I think some traders, not probably a good amount of traders back, probably not all. But keep in mind, it's the beginning of September, and I think that volumes were still kind of a little bit quieter, and it was a little bit quieter of a tape. But definitely some interesting points to go over, which we will do very quickly in this video for today. Just a reminder, if you're not a member of the Tribeca Trade Group, you can go right to my Twitter page and you can click on here. That will go ahead and should take you to services, and you can explore everything that we do here. But basically, I'm very busy during the day, pointing out different themes that we're seeing, and really just basically at this point, trying to get through a very seasonal week month and basically waiting for signals, right? Even though I'm present in the room, all day, every day, sometimes it's a bit of just, doing what you have to do, which is sitting on your hands a little bit and trying not to get overexposed to this market. So let me get into that. But if you haven't checked out Tribeca Trade Group, please do it there and try it out for a month. By all means, hit me with a private message in our Slack trading room and let me know what you think. All right, so let's get right into some themes of the day, right? And where's my spreadsheet? Here it is. Risk disclaimer in front of you. Everything that we're going through is for information purposes only, not giving out any advice or recommendations. Everything that we're going through is for information purposes only. Also, if the video is a little bit blurry, just give YouTube a little bit more time. Sometimes they take a little bit of, they've been doing that recently. I've noticed that the video is blurry because they just take time to render. So, what was particularly telling for the day is a couple things. And I'm going to go right to, the couple themes that we've been talking about now for a while. There's been some trends in place, but one of which is, we're going down in bonds. You're going to hear a lot of people talk about bonds. It's important because bonds are a headwind, right? So the higher yields go, again, what we're looking at is the long end of the curve. We're not talking about what the Fed is doing when they raise interest rates. That's the overnight rate. That's the short end of the curve. We're looking at the 30-year rate, and we could also look at TLT as well, but this is even longer term. So we've been seeing this trend basically since the beginning of August go lower and lower and lower. And one thing to note here, and this is why I have the 5-period moving average on my chart, is there's really been no question since this thing has been moving lower that the trend is in place. There's really been no fight back in terms of bonds going higher. Now there will eventually be, because markets don't go down in a straight line, don't go up in a straight line either. But we're getting to the point where bonds are this was the bonds were down 1.7% for the day. So when we look at the yields, because again, we're looking at a bond chart, so price goes inverse with yields. So here's the US, right? And you could see across the board, right, the rate is going higher, right? So the 30-year bond up 15 basis points today. So that's, that's a decent clip. TLT, which I have on my other screen, was down 2.5%. That's a big move, and I'm really surprised, that equities kind of hung in there. The majority of the damage was done in the beginning of the day. But, here's what I should be able to, oh, no, I don't want this. I want this. Here's what the 30-year rate looks like. Right, we're actually above where we were in June when you want to look at if you want to look at the pure interest rate. But there you have it. There's a 5-year chart and we're above that. Yeah, maybe you could say that this is a cup and handle. I heard a couple of references of cup and handle patterns today, but it's a big thing. And then the other thing that we continuously watch too is what the US dollar is doing, right? US dollar going up, look at there was some volume today in the beginning of the day. Looks like, I think 11 million shares traded or something like that. Notice it's very gappy because it doesn't update pre-market, right? So of course, like futures will price continuously, dollar futures, euro, the yen, all those things. They don't just trade during the cash hour. The regular stock stock market hours, 9:30 to 4 o'clock. They trade continuously. So therefore, this chart's going to always look gappy. It's the same thing when you look at an international chart too. But this made a new high today. So these things are continuing to kind of trend, and make no mistake about it. Equities have been moving lower. For now over a month, right? I think it's over a month. And the dollar has been pushing higher, and yields have been pushing higher. So something has to give. Perhaps that people are waiting until we get some more data that comes out, right, on inflation, right? We heard Powell talk about inflation. I think he mentioned in that 8 or 9 minute speech a couple of weeks ago, he mentioned inflation 46 times or something like that. I may be off 1 or 2 of those counts, but I think you know what I mean. But it's really, I think everybody's waiting for the CPI report at this point, right? I think before they really kind of commit some money, or more buying the dip type money. So, we could kind of look at a couple things. Now, of course, the CPI is made up of things like what food prices are doing and what rent is doing. Commodities are a small portion of that. But, I thought that this was another interesting story of the day. Right. We came in this weekend and, you heard nothing, the major headlines were talking about the European power issue. Right. And sometimes, it's why we look at prices, because, the news will scare you when you hear about all kinds of headlines and things that have to take place. And, I think watching what the commodities are doing are very important. So nat gas today was down 9% today. Right. Crude, which I think is a must watch for tomorrow. Let me zoom in on this. But crude is, has been struggling with this bottom of value. Again, we're using volume at price here to give us really good support resistance levels, right, based on the market profile. And even on a day like this, where oil was in majorly in the headlines today, and as well as energy. Right. 88 is the level here, right? And rounding up, it's 87.94. But if this can't hold, then I would say that this comes under, then we start to see a move down to 83, right? And I think that that's a good thing, right? Unless you're in one of these, Twitter spaces who wants oil to go up for some selfish reason. But I think, overall, it'll be good if oil goes down, right? It would cost less, to fill up your tank at the gas station, and overall, it would help to bring inflation down too. So that's something to watch. I think what's going on in the agriculture space too, hearing about all kinds of things going on with food, and we're just really not seeing that translate. I know wheat was up a little bit, but you could see it's way off the high. So again, it's important to kind of keep an eye on these things. All right, so let's get to equities. What I'm kind of waiting for, well, I'm waiting for a couple things, but this Virgin point of control is sitting down here at 38.68. We are getting closer and closer to this. So it has a bit of complete month, where we've been moving down, but it's been about 3 weeks, right? And so this doesn't have to be taken out, right? This is the Virgin point of control, or the point of control from last month, right? And price was basically above the month the whole period. So we're so close to this. I would rather at this point get it, see it taken out. But again, it doesn't have to be. And then of course, the other thing that we're watching in the room is, we're looking for confirmation for when the sellers are complete, right? You could always play, I'm going to guess when price reverses. But again, you go back to this bond chart, right? And there's no reason to guess, for when this, this trend that we've seen over the last few weeks, when this is going to reverse. Wait for the price to get back above the moving average, right? That at least you have some confirmation. Again, it doesn't mean that the whole trend is going to change, but at least that that there's some buying that's going on, whether it's short covering or actually long buying, and we really haven't seen that yet. So again, this is going to be a watch area if this VPOC gets taken out. That's 3868. Remember that. Right. As we go to the 1 hour chart, we also have one down here. Again, this is a little bit further away, but that's at 3837. So again, we're just, we're basically, I use the market webs and volume at price as a roadmap, right? For knowing where there's resistance. One of the things that I tweeted out last night when futures were rallying was that, hey, we haven't really been able to turn the corner and get into the value area. And certainly, That did not happen today either. So that upside resistance is 39.57. If you want to look at the Qs as well, right, we've got a VPOC down there at 287. Notice again, we're below value for the for the beginning of the week, right? We need to really get above I'm going to round up and say 299, right? That would kind of change course a little bit, but the trend is down here, right? And again, I have a 200 period moving average in here too. We're below this decently, so it's best to kind of, in my opinion, right, because I'm not giving out advice or anything like that, is to be patient, and wait for some confirmation, right? Going back to what I said in the beginning of this month too, kind of have to have in the back of your mind that this is the weakest seasonal month of the year too. So if you can kind of stay out of it and stay nimble, right, which is what I am trying to do in this market, if you could get through, as much as you can of September without incurring any losses, you have to give yourself a pat on the back, because again, one of the things that is key here is being, full on doom and gloom, right? Here's the seasonality chart for midterm elections. We know that this is a tough area, so let's get through this, right? And if we could get through this and come out with our confidence and our, mindset ready to go, you might find some really good setups. And that's why I'm not really worried about this market continuing to go, a little bit lower, because in my trading account, I'm not in it, right? And again, I'll show you a couple trades that I did kind of mess around with today, but overall, I'm just not adding a lot of exposure until we get further in the month. We get some confirmation in the indices, and and we start to see some things like maybe crude breakdown. Maybe bonds start to go back up. Maybe the dollar start to come off the highs. All right, so there's a lot of things to watch here. I put out a watch list every weekend because even though sometimes it's a bit more actionable than it is for me this week, I just basically want to watch some names this week. So we talked a little bit about some of the energy commodities, but I thought today was a great day to take profits on the open. And if you look at how some of these things unfolded, right, CCJ, right, went up and took out this VPOC, and it finished down on the day, right? So a lot of reversals in energy and in some other spaces too, but you had chances to take some profits pre-market. All right, so some things that I'm watching. All right, so ENPH is probably going to be one of the most talked about stocks today. It had a nice day, up 5%. There was some option call buying in this too. So I'm in this, right? Here's my trade this morning. And again, nothing too crazy. I'm mainly just taking starter positions here until we get some confirmation. So, participating very lightly. 285, it actually went down a little bit to close to 280, didn't take out my stop price. And then I was able to take some targets, right? And, you'll see a couple things that were taken out. Here's my upside target, right, which was taken out here. We did go a little bit further. Also, there was one of those virgin point of controls taken out on the 5-minute, right on the highs of the day. So, my stop, I brought up my stop for the day for 292, which came close to being triggered. So if not, I'll get out of this tomorrow. It's not really a big deal. All right. And that's how we're playing right now. Ratcheting it up, trailing stops, and hitting some singles and doubles right now. All right. Another name that I started today, I gave a level of where it had to close for the end of the day, but Alta, right, had good earnings. Again, breakouts are very difficult in bear markets, so that's why, hey, I don't mind trying it, but with a smaller position, because breakouts are really, really tough. CEG held its own today. It didn't break out. I managed to take a target in this on Friday before the market sold off. I'm watching 82.89. NEE got a nice upgrade today. That made a nice turn today. Switching over to the restaurant stocks, I thought those did pretty good today. Nice turn here in CMG. Also, Wing had a real nice move today. The stock was up 9% on good volume today. So nice to see that. Looking at, one semiconductor I'm watching is Global Foundries, right? Did well today in a down market, was up 1.7% for the day. I think that's interesting. What else do I have on my list? Ulta, I mentioned that one. Palo Alto is another one I'm watching too. Again, nothing on in my trading account. Noticing that it kind of came in and just about filled that earnings gap, right? Took out a virgin point of control to the downside. Nice little bounce there, 520 up to 530 on that. And also, again, no rush here. I want to make sure it gets back above the 200-day moving average, right? Then if it gets back above the 200-day moving average, you set your stop to the 200-day moving average. So you know where the trade's going to work, where the trade's not going to work when you get into it. I think that's pretty much it. Just a couple other names, like, a lot of charts look like this, right? And don't be afraid. Like, I get questions all the time about charts, and like chart request, right? And I don't mind giving them, but something like this, right? It doesn't jump off the page. It's not screaming buy. It's screaming, oh geez, this thing looks like a mess, right? So Tesla came into the 50-day moving average. A lot of call activity, a lot of like the weekly stuff, momentum call buyers in this, but it's barely hanging on to the 50-day moving average, right? And then it's going to have some resistance at 287. So this is going to take some time. I do like this name, right? I like the company. I like, but the stock right now is challenged, right? So, give it some time with these things, right? And that's how a lot of names look. And then lastly, IWM, which I don't go over in every one of these charts in these videos, but this thing has to get back above 179.60, and that'll be something to watch later this week to see if we get some type of short covering. I think that also could fuel some type of turn in the indices because we have that CPI report. Shorts are not going to want to be really heavy into that report either. Another thing that I keep talking about is this McClellan summation index, right? And probably leave it here. But the indices are really oversold at this point. So, for me, I would not be let's see, I would not be shorting personally. Again, everything I'm talking about is right. So of course we know that we've got this going on, nicey nasty, right? This is stuff that we covered in the weekend video, bearish signals, right? But you have to be mindful of this too, right? This market is really oversold when you look at the McClellan's oscillator. All right. So, to me, when a lot of times when I look at trades or risk, the market, it's risk to reward probabilities. This is pretty damn oversold and ripe for a bounce. Now, if you want to, in my opinion, maybe after the bounce, reinitiating some shorts, maybe putting on from time to time, I go long SQQQ as a hedge when price is below the moving average, the short-term moving averages. But I kind of wait for a bounce for that to take place, even though I had some on for intraday move today. But all right, guys, that is it. Have a great night. See you tomorrow.